Hello, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about a 1970 movie. This is The Road to Salina. It was released by Kino Lorber, July of 2021. It was directed by Georges Lautner, French filmmaker. This is his only English language movie. It stars Rita Hayworth, Robert Walker Jr., Ed Begley Sr., and last but definitely not least, Mimsy Farmer. If you know Mimsy Farmer from her Italian movies or giallos and all, she made two films before that. One of the first film was more Barbara Schroeder movie, which she's pretty good in too, and certainly photographed beautifully. But in this film, The Road to Salina, she's absolutely fantastic looking, and she gives a really interesting performance. But let's get to the plot first. And Robert Walker plays a young man who's drifting. That we're supposed to be in Mexico. It's actually filmed in the Canary Islands, and the landscapes that Lautner and his crew found that make you feel like you're on another planet. He's hungry. He's thirsty. He has no money. He wanders into this kind of isolated cafe that's on the outskirts of a large town. And as he's washing up using the water pump, Rita Hayworth comes out and she says, "Rocky, you're back." Rocky is her son that disappeared 4 years ago. He thinks it's some sort of joke, but she insists that he's Rocky, her son, and who has disappeared and no one has heard from for these last 4 years. He decides to, what the heck, I'll go along with it for a while. I need food, I need a place to sleep. And then Rocky's sister comes home, and she's played by Mimsy Farmer. And lo and behold, she also identifies him as Rocky. Ed Bailey comes by. He is a family friend. He seems to be courting Rita Hayworth. They spend a lot of time together playing cards. He identifies him as Rocky. And but he leaves, when they're alone, he leaves a cryptic comment that others have come before and have left quickly. "You're going to stay, young man." And there's psychological undertones here, kind of twisted psychology. There's intimations, quasi-incest. Robert Walker and Mimsy Farmer develop a relationship that soon turns sexual, even though she continues to fantasize that he's her brother. This is a film. In some ways, this film reminded me a lot of Hussein. A recent Criterion release with Alan Delon, Romy Schneider. It both is like a four-character play in a sun-drenched atmosphere. Water is involved. They're by the ocean in The Road to Salina, and the swimming pool in La Piscine, and there's psychological undercurrents. There's mysteries. Where's it all going to lead to? And we have that in spades with The Road to Salina. This was, and Lautner and Jacques Deray, who directed that film, these were kind of like outlier films for them. They made kind of real commercial films outside of these two films, and Lautner made crime movies, funny crime movies. I don't think he made, and this is his only English language film as well. I've not seen anything other than this from Lautner, but he was a very famous director in France, very popular. Rita Hayworth, this is her second to the last film. She's only about 53 here. She's suffered years of alcoholism, but she gives a really good and committed performance here, where she is perhaps even in the early stages of Alzheimer's, which she suffered from for the last 15 years or so of her life. Robert Walker, of course, he is Hollywood royalty. Rita Hayworth is absolute in the flesh Hollywood royalty. It's hard to connect her with Only Angels Have Wings, Dancing with Fred Astaire, Gilda. But Robert Walker, you can see his father, who played Bruno in Strangers on a Train, and the son of both he and Jennifer Jones, the stepson of David Selznick. So this is real royalty, and this is perhaps even for him his most substantial role in movies, though he was a very busy actor all his life. And of course, Ed Begley was one of the most ubiquitous character actors in Hollywood and television. And Mimsy Farmer she is so much a emblem of 1970. I mean, there's some other actors that really just as soon as I see her face, I think of what 1970 felt like. I mean, she's just a free spirit. She lives in the moment. She's totally at ease with taking her clothes off. And when in this movie came out, I think it was around 21 or so, and it was quite a nice it was quite a nice memory for old people looking back who were young at the time of the release of Road to Salina. And although this was not a hit movie, I did see this in the movies. I think it mostly played in double bills, but I did see it in its first run. And Farmer is so interesting. Of course, she goes into Giallo and I think, what was it, the Dario Argento movie, Four Flies on Grey Velvet, I believe it was called. But before she went to Europe to make these two films, More and then The Road to Salina, she was a teenage supporting player in a whole bunch of American TV shows, including My Three Sons, Donna Reed. She was on, not that long ago, I saw her in a Perry Mason episode. So she was an experienced actress by the time of her European career began. And then, of course, she also played in some drive-in kind of automobile racing kind of movies, Hot Rods to Hell, Wild Racers. But she just, with her blonde, short platinum blonde hair, she had this just a face especially when she looks in the camera, it's just like, wow, it's really something. And so if you're a Mimsy Farmer completist like I am, this is definitely a movie you would want to see, because like I say, this is her probably her most substantial role in which we really see Mimsy Farmer, and she gives a really good performance in this film as well. There's a commentary included on The Road to Salina, and it's one of the three guys that Kino Lorber uses a lot. That's Howard S. Berger, Steve Mitchell, Nathaniel Thompson. It's a subpar commentary. They sort of talk to each other rather than talk to the audience. There's lots of male banter, and they're all trying to one-up themselves with how much they know. But nevertheless, there's enough information there that is still kind of interesting, especially as far as the soundtrack when it goes on this film, because More, Mimsy Farmer's previous film, had used a lot of Pink Floyd in the soundtrack, and of course Michelangelo Antonioni also used Pink Floyd in Zabriskie Point, and they wanted Pink Floyd for this, but they couldn't get them. But it's nevertheless has this Pink Floyd sound to it, very trippy kind of organ music. The musicians that I've never heard of, Christoph, Clinic. There's also a flute solo by Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. But it's a very effective soundtrack. Cinematography is fantastic. And again, overall, I had a blast with this movie. I really did. It brought back so many memories, because I've not seen it, 50 years? It's amazing how some of these films look better today than they did then. In the commentary, Howard Berger, well, all of them do, they praise this movie to the hilt. I mean, this is better than Citizen Kane, you know. And Berger does some great video essays, but you know, say they just wander around and they lose track of the movie. And the movie is really interesting. I mean, there's the set design, the different abstract ways. They do cover a bit of that. So it's worth listening to. Okay, that'll wrap up today's video. I thank everybody, as always, appreciate hanging around, listening to me, and you guys take care. Catch you next time.